And as we dream these hopes of light drift out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to week 2, day number 1. We're about to get ready for game number 2, and it's going to be Complexity Academy going up against WAZABI Gaming. Good luck, have fun, teams. They are all set. Sorry for the delays. We had a little bit of a client issue, but we should be good to go. And whenever they hit that ready button, we will be going forward. 4-card Chester here with Azaraki Dragon, and look at that, just on time. They are ready to roll.
Now on the blue side, we have Complexity Academy, so they are 1-1 so far in this league, and WAZABI Gaming on the purple team, they're 2-0 undefeated so far. Let's see if they can keep it that way. So the first ban coming out from Complexity Academy is going to be Lulu. Very strong support. She's one of the versatile supports that you can play with a lot of different AD carries and would work out really well. She's got a lot of poke, she's got a good amount of CC, she's got a shield, as well as her ultimate can go ahead and give you a gigantic burst of health, which is great for escaping some of these bad engagements. Maybe a gank goes down where you realize that you're trapped. There goes the ultimate. You know, it's a lifesaver. So Lulu, very versatile, works quite a bit. And looking at some of the other bands, you know, Zac, Twisted Fate, Annie, we've already seen Zac banned already, Zac and Nunu actually, and Twisted Fate played last game. You definitely don't want some of that global pressure. He was doing extremely well, ulting around the map, making sure he gets off these great initiations with gold card.
Oh, was that okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, it sounded like there was going to come out more with that one.
It did.
All good, sir. Yeah, Nunu going to be on the board there as well. I'm looking at some of these bands and I'm cross-referencing them with the player profiles that we actually have here on Elofont, another one of the Mobafire sites. And you know, there's not really any kind of big targeting bands here. Like looking at, you know, our tops, our mids, you know, nobody really has a huge percentage in Annie or Lulu or Zac. But you know, Zac we can obviously understand. Nunu's still very powerful. And last game we saw what Twisted Fate did to Reality Check Gaming. It was just something of a nightmare because there was a Nocturne there. But Jarvan, you know, again, just very generic kind of stuff. So it doesn't look like anything big targeted, but Elise is going to be coming out, one of the top 3 there for Haku Brother, who typically plays top lane there for Complexity Academy.
Yes, he does. So Elise already being picked up right now. A very strong champion. We've already talked about her a little bit. Let's go into a little bit more detail. She's got a great escape mechanic, as well as, you know, it's also a good gap closer. Her repel, as soon as she gets up into the air, she can go ahead and target an enemy and basically drop down right on top of whoever it is. So it's a great gap closer, and you can also use it as an escape. And at the very least, you know, you can dodge quite a bit of damage, AoE damage, you know, anything like that. It's a really nice ability to have. And on top of that, I already talked about how she has a percentage of maximum health damage on Neurotoxin, as well as an execute in spider form. So there's a very good amount of kit on Elise, and she doesn't necessarily need to be the most fed one in the game in order to put out that damage. However, you know, we're seeing WAZABI Gaming, they're going for Zed. We saw Zed last game. He worked really well, and what I want to see as a response from this, you know, a little bit more armor, maybe a little bit more in terms of tanky champions. That would be something that really helps them out as well.
I'm going to retract the Lulu statement. Chat putting on a clinic about some of their favorite players. Zamfira apparently mids Lulu, like, all the time. So I've made a note of that. And, yeah, that's something I wouldn't have expected. But, hey, there you go. Zamf, Lulu, banned! Nobody wants that here. But as you said, Zed, Nasus, you know, we had them good success last game. Well, maybe not for Nasus, as Deadlanta just kind of never had really control of his own jungle. I think they had one buff, one blue buff, of the, you know, multiple 6 or 7 that they could have had. One of them went to Reality Check Gaming. Really good objective control last round. We'll have to see if, you know, Captain Ziklock on his Nasus can do a bit better this round. Kenny Yu picks up Caitlyn. We also got a Janna down there in the bot lane, or, well, the duo lane. I guess we shouldn't really say bot lane these days with all the switches going around.
Yeah, really, and even sometimes we see the duo mid, AD carry support mid lane. So it's really, the meta has sort of, it's in a place where the requirements are a jungler, an AD carry support lane, and 2 solo laners. It doesn't really matter how the lanes are arranged, as long as you have that configuration. It's something that could work, but you still have to know what you're doing. A lot of times I see big lane swaps where we send the AD carry and support into the top lane, and they don't perform so well. The biggest point of that is to start taking early towers, make sure that their top lane gets shut down in terms of farm, and they have to make sure that their own solo laner can hold their own in a 2v1. But it looks like blue and purple, I want WAZABI Gaming going for Nami and Vayne, so we might actually be seeing a lane swap from them. Vayne is a very popular one to do that. If you force her into a 2v1 position, then she's going to get a lot more farm. She's not going to have trouble farming. People aren't really going to try to harass her out. That's a lot of it's going to come down to jungler pressure, although we might also see again sort of the prediction of that lane swap, and we might see Complexity Academy go ahead and send Janna and Caitlyn to the top lane as well to sort of counter that, which is Janna, Caitlyn, tons of poke. We have the shield from Janna increasing the attack damage on Caitlyn, making her Piltover Peacemaker do more damage, her auto attacks, which have really long range, as well as headshots. So that can really hurt Vayne, because Vayne doesn't do so well in terms of poke. So I want to see how both of these teams sort of played that mind game of the lane swaps out.
And nothing here picking up that Vayne. It's his top win percentage champion, at least that I was able to see. So him picking up, his top, definitely going to be having to watch out for him. Nami, of course, we saw the power of JD Wu last round with that Nami, just absolute destruction with those Aqua Prisons. We'll have to see if we can get that similar success. Now, someone was actually calling Kennen last pick, but it's going to be Ryze and Lissandra picked up here for Complexity Academy. So Doom Trouble really, really likes his Lissandra. He has a lot of games sunk into that. And ZZ Legendary actually picking up his Ryze. He really does favor Ryze mid. So we're getting quite a few of the different players here picking up some of their most played champions. I'm a little sad I won't get to see a Lulu though.
Yeah, a little bit sad about that. Although I do like Complexity Academy's picks in response to the Zed pick. We're seeing, there are not a lot of squishy champions. Their AP mid laner, Ryze, gets very tanky as the game progresses. He builds very tanky in his core build. It's a really good thing to have against someone like Zed, who's a full-on assassin. We also have Elise, who isn't the squishiest champion. She's also got a good amount of tank on herself. Lee Sin can also tank, and by the looks of it, he's their only real main tank champion, because Lee Sin can be built either for damage or for tank, and since there's really no dedicated tank on Complexity Academy as of yet, it's going to get thrown into the way of Lee Sin, so he's going to be tanky, and Caitlyn is going to be able to stay in the back line. It's going to be hard for Zed to engage on her, and if that happens, if he, say, sneaks up around behind her, like we saw in the last game, then Xanos can do a really good job of basically, tornado, ulti, shield. There's a lot of things he can do to negate that aggression.
And the last pickup here, Lissandra, Zamfira immediately getting swapped into that one. Another one of those high percentile win champions. That one I did pick up through Elofant, but it looks like everyone is now going to be solidified. Now, something that I want to talk to you about, Azaraki, is like last time we didn't see those exhausts coming out on our supports, but I have been seeing, like last week we had heals on our supports. Sometimes if I go into featured games I see heals on supports. Why are we running heals on supports all of a sudden?
I think one of the main things is the fact that AD carries are no longer running Ignite. And Ignite was the big, huge counter to heal. Because when you're trying to close out a kill, you're going to Ignite. That's just the way it works. And when you want to try to bait out the engagement and give your AD carry a little burst of health right before he dies to try to fight back, then you're going to heal at the last second. But the way that sort of works out, the Ignite is going to cut down half of whatever heal actually ends up healing. But in this case, the meta has sort of shifted to a point where AD carries start to take barrier. They start to take cleanse, as we see in this game. So that's something that really helps out people with heal, and they're going to have to be careful of that. And it's almost like, Caitlyn can afford to take cleanse right now as well, because she almost has a barrier sort of thing. She has something that if she gets down to low health, can bring her back, can bait people out with heal. So that allows her to take cleanse to make sure that she's even safer. So it's a very strong summoner spell pick, and we're going to start seeing more and more of it as time goes on.
That's a very offensive Lee Sin. 2190 has some damage, some armor in his rune set, some armor penetration. No attack speed. I kind of expect a little bit of attack speed to come out for Lee Sin, synergize with that flurry passive, but I suppose not today. Kenny Yu picking up that Elise. He's gonna looking to hit his runes, magic resist, ability power, armor, some armor penetration as well. Looking for some of that auto attack damage. His rune set is Q Q Q Q Q, but he's also 21-9. So even if our solo lanes, doesn't look like too many people are going to be running defensive options.
It's a little weird to see that, yeah, especially against so many high damage people like Lissandra, high burst damage, Zed, high burst damage, and we also have Vayne, who just high damage in general. You know, she's got damage everywhere. She can draw out a fight. Silver bolts proccing every 3 shots really puts out a lot of damage. And that being said, there's no exhaust on Complexity Academy, which is a little bit weird. You know, heal is certainly a good summer spell, but against someone like Vayne, you want something to shut her down in the late game. So hopefully they're going to prevent her from getting there in the first place.
And just to finish it off, ZZ Legendary 9021 for his Ryze. Lots of movement speed because he has movement speed on his Quints as well. But guys, we're going to get this game rolling for you in just a moment. Game number 2 here on week 2, day 1, coming at you. Forgo Jester and Azaraki here in the MCS. Don't go anywhere because we're about to get this rolling. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're into the loading screen. Team Blue is going to be your Complexity Academy, going up against the undefeated WAZABI Gaming so far here in the MCS into week 2, looking for their 3rd win to go undefeated. But if you are not curious, if you're not following or you don't know what Mobafire Challenger Series is, we got the top challenger teams here of NA going head-to-head, $10,000 for a prize pool coming up here in August. Bunch of different casters, bunch of different teams looking for that next level godlike team. Who knows? You might see these guys in a few months in that LCS because we have another split coming up. Forgo Jester here with the Azaraki Dragon, and game 2 of 4 tonight. Make sure you're following us out there, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, as well as the Mobafire stuff, because you can win some sweet prizes through that action.
And we've recently also implemented sort of a tip jar system, so if you like how the teams play, you can donate towards that and make sure that the prize pool, you know, gets even bigger for the teams that are winning this series. And you can also donate money to the casters. There's a tip jar for that. It's on the www.mcsesports.com main page. You scroll down to the bottom, you'll see it, and here we go, right into this game. A lot of pings going down, and it looks like, you know, WAZABI might be actually going for sort of a blue invade, or they might just be trying to defend their own red. We'll have to see how their stance sort of looks out, but they might be going for an invade. Nami is going to go ahead and ward the bottom half of their jungle, so that's sort of indicative of, you know, they plan to stay on the top half of their own jungle or even invade the enemy jungle. And with 2 of them, they now see every entrance into their blue buff. There's no way that Complexity Academy can get to their blue buff without them seeing. So that's something that's going to help them out quite a bit. And they're going to probably go for an invade. We'll have to see how these play out, but it looks like Complexity Academy themselves are going down for their own invade. We might see a dual invade, or this ward. Yes, that ward is going to go ahead and spot Complexity Academy, so WAZABI is making a beeline straight back to their blue. Great ward coverage by Nami, and we might be seeing a level 1 team fight very, very soon.
Yeah, 3 wards invested for that vision, but we have similarly 3 wards now being thrown out here from Complexity, including that pink, so they know that this is not vision. However, I'm not too sure that they know that they have been spotted. So are we going to see an engage here at this blue? We saw what happened last round with Reality Check Gaming. They lost their blue, and then they lost their blue every other time from that game, from that one steal forward for the entirety of the game. They only got one blue buff out of all of it, and that was a steal. Now ZZ Legendary, he's not going to be able to see this around the corner, and that is some major pain. A minute 51 into this game, and we're going to take a quick kill lead here for WAZABI.
Oh my, I love the sort of route that WAZABI took right there. They're forcing, you know, the rest of the team into weird positions. Janna right now is going to have to go ahead and try to force an execute to stay alive. They ended up securing first blood, and on top of that, they get their own buff and delay the enemy jungler. They delay Complexity Academy's jungler from taking the buffs, although he is going to, you know, out of sort of desperation actually, you know, it's a little bit late for him to go back to his own buff. He's going to try to go ahead and steal this buff away from WAZABI. Let's see if he can time it right, but no. There goes the smite from Captain Ziploc, and he's going to be able to take that buff. And now with that big risk, Doom Trovo is even farther behind on his Lee Sin, so he's now just starting his red buff, and he's not really going to be able to have any help with that either. So already WAZABI is in a much bigger lead than, you know, even the gold differences indicate.
Oh, he's going to get a shield here from Janna, so that's very, very nice of her. Does look like he is going to hold out here for a smiteless, and, you know, it's not really going to be put that far behind in terms of the health pool, but in terms of the timers, yeah, in terms of the farm, he is going to be extremely late on his rotations. But either way, first blood to WAZABI. Now, I guess, you know, a lot of the time you do try to go for those smiteless blues, so you keep your smite for the red, but, you know, very smart move from Captain Zip. Like I said, you know, we haven't seen him go back. We don't know where he is. He's probably around here. I'm just going to be very safe, take this with my smite, and if he hadn't, that risk definitely would have paid off.
Yeah, we saw Doom Trovo. He was right there waiting to go ahead and throw a Resonating Strike in there, or a Sonic Wave actually, followed up by Resonating Strike if he were to get the damage down. But let's go ahead and take a look at this bot lane. So no lane swaps. Vayne is going to be going up against Caitlyn and Janna. Now Xanos was put pretty far behind. Right now we see he's level 1, whereas the rest of the game is, you know, level 2, level 3. So that's going to be really helping out the Vayne and Nami lane. And on top of that, even though Caitlyn, Janna has quite a bit of poke, long range poke even, whereas Vayne's auto attack range is very, very short, they do have sustain with Nami, so that's going to help them out as well. And I want to see how the rest of this bot lane turns out, because Complexity Academy, they have sort of the comp advantage in the bot lane, whereas WAZABI, they have the level advantage in the bot lane. So I want to see how that ends up playing out.
Well, we're going to have a little bit of time here with this pause. I can't even move my cursor. It's that silly pause bug as well. So if this does start hitting the 27-minute mark, I am going to greens just so we don't have any kind of stream cheating going on, but hopefully it doesn't go that long. Either way, 5.1 to the 4.5. You're looking at the bottom lane, long range on those tornadoes, long range on the Caitlyn. Vayne, not so much long range. During week number 1, Azaraki, since I know you were on vacation that week, which I hope was great for you, we had, I think, a Caitlyn every game. 100%.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see why as well. She's just such a huge lane bully. She puts out so much damage, and when you combine her with supports like Janna or even Nami, she can put out even more damage and bully out the lane opponent even more. And against a Vayne, it's going to work out well for her. And vacation was pretty good, by the way. Thanks.
Yeah, always good to get some fun in the sun. Now we had Doom Trovo up here looking for a possible gank on top of Zed, but the lane is a little bit too far pushed, so he's just going to go on his merry way, try to do maybe a little bit of counter, but as you can see, there's really nothing in and around that area for him to pick up. Bottom lane, similar idea, it's getting pushed real hard. Vayne and Nami having a really tough time actually just trying to stay relevant. In terms of that as well, just because of the range safety net that we got between Caitlyn and Janna, we've taken a little bit of a creep lead there as well.
Of course, it's really easy for Caitlyn to zone people out as well, and that's part of the big early game dominance thing I was talking about earlier. But looking to, you know, help his team get back into the game and help himself get back into the game, Doom Trovo is going to go ahead and try to land a gank onto Zamfira, and here we go. He's going to try it. There goes the Rune Prison.
Oh, nice dodge from Zamfira. Throws out the claw, goes south, and then teleports right back to it. So not only did he miss out all those skill shots, I have no idea who ate something right there, but that was really loud. But yeah, really just sweet dodge out of that one.
Yeah, really great jukes, throwing throwing her ability that way, sort of dodging bottom, because he knew Doom Trobo was going to go ahead and lead him forward, but no one expects him to run towards the fight, and since he already thrown out his E, that allows him the escape even if he's getting closer. So a great play right there by Zamfira, and I'm really excited to see what he can do with his Entomb in terms of the late game. It's such a powerful ability, and when you combine it with something like Nami's ultimate, when you combine it with even Vayne in general, giving that stun, very, very huge. But it looks like Vayne taking quite a bit of damage, and even though they were able to get the third proc off, even though they got a pretty good trade, it still went in favor of Complexity Academy. They just have that much more range, that much more power, and a shield from Janna making trades that much better for them.
Yeah, tornadoes are definitely something very irksome, especially when you don't really have that range. Top lane, though, Doom Trouble went in, and Kenny, wow, didn't even see it, but they did enact this gank top lane. They take down, for the second blood of the game, the top laner, but now Captain Ziploc, he's going to be in here. Kenny Yu looking for that escape. Looks like he is going to get it. We do have Lissandra just waiting around as well. He didn't go back to town, so he was ready there for the safeguard. Just got too engrossed in this bottom lane. I apologize.
Yeah, just a little bit, and going back to the going back to the mid lane a little bit, I like the fact that Crystalline Flask was the starting sort of item for Lissandra, so she's going to be able to take a lot of the early poke that Ryze has, and Ryze is sort of a machine gun caster. He can cast over and over and over again, but in the early game, before he gets his Tear of the Goddess, before he gets those big items, he's going to have a little bit of mana trouble. So if you can survive some of the overloads he throws out over and over again, he's going to be lower on mana, and you're going to be just fine in terms of your health. So I like that starting item against a Ryze, and she's really not going to have that much trouble farming either, because she's got some great auto attacks as well as her shard that she can throw out on top of that. And going back to the bottom lane, it's such an early tower right now. Well, early in terms of they didn't have any jungler help at all in that bot lane, and they've already taken this tower. That is how powerful this bottom lane is for Complexity Academy, even when Xanos was put behind in levels in the early game.
Zamfira going to get a little bit of flag here as ZZ Legendary just trying to push in his lane. In terms of bottom lane, yeah, just pure pushing power, just really abusing that short range on that Vayne. But Kenny Yu goes to ward. That's going to be the death mark. Throws up the repel, has nothing really to land. Is going to fall right back down. Captain Ziploc and I Dream, they're going to go for the kill, but the cocoon is not going to be enough to take Captain Ziploc with him. He was in tower range, did get hit a shot, but again, like, we've seen this, I think, a few times now between week 1 and week 2. You go toward the bush, the jungler's already there, and then you're just too far out of position. Flash was down, used the repel, had nothing to get to, and it's just, a little bit unfortunate. But because they know that Nasus is top, looks like we're going for a dragon 8 minutes in.
And this is still a bit of a risky play, as they have no idea whether or not the purple team has wards out, and they actually take the dragon right there, no contesting, and they're actually going to go for this team fight right afterwards.
Yeah, but that's going to be a rune prison into the flash. We also had a little bit of Zamfira flat coming in. Prophet is going to be backing right there. Fortunately, there is no vision coming out from Complexity Academy, so they don't really know about it, can't really capitalize on it either. Looking for that attempted Q on the blue does not work. Lissandra's going to be able to pick that one. So Zamfira going back to lane, she was there, did come down. That was a 4-man response going to the dragon as soon as they realized everyone was kind of off the grid. But bottom lane, so far we haven't seen that answer. I mean, Caitlyn comes back to lane with that BF sword, and she's, 15 creeps up now over top of Vayne. So she's taken a big early game lead.
There goes Zamfira. She's going to go in for it. There goes the Entomb, and the Ignite. One last tick is going to go ahead and secure the kill onto Ryze. She's going to be even farther ahead in this laning phase right now. Ryze 0-2. He got first blooded, unfortunately, and on top of that, Lissandra is pulling ever so slightly farther and farther ahead. At this point, 73 CS to 54. And one thing I want to go back to that fight in the jungle. LOD really playing Caitlyn very well, not neglecting any part of her kit. Even in team fights, right there, we know there were no wards for Complexity Academy. They couldn't ward the blue bush, so she threw a trap in it to get the site. But in the top lane, we have another gank.
Yeah, once again, okay, we are going to get that repel off this time. A little bit of distance between him. Ziploc and his ult just ticking down. Doesn't have any more mana, I don't think, for a wither. It is also on cooldown. Nice cocoon on top of Dream, but we don't have that flash up, so Kenny's just kind of out of tricks. We got Zamfira going to come down from the top. That's going to be the claw coming in. Doom Trouble, and no, it's going to be a pause.
Oh. Interesting time for a pause, I have to say. But going to that fight a little bit, Doom Trobo, I'm actually a little bit surprised that he didn't use his kick earlier. And right now, we see that Lissandra is right here ready to follow up. If he would have kicked a little bit sooner, as soon as he got in there, iDream and Captain Ziploc, one of them would have been knocked back, the other one would have been knocked up, and they would be in no condition to continue chasing this onto iCanny as well as Doom Trobo. But now, it's a little bit late for that. He can still try to pull off that very last sort of desperate kick, trying to kick maybe Captain Ziploc into both iDream and Zamfira, making his good escape right there, or making good his escape is the expression I think I want. And looking at his abilities, Safeguard is down for another 4/5 seconds. It just keeps jumping back and forth right there. But so he's not going to be able to escape using that, and yeah, it's going to be really hard for him to get out of this gang.
Why does it always happen during the team fights? I can't even put up the pause. I'm gonna have to do something else for that pause, make a new hotkey for it, because this league bug is just silly, in my opinion. But either way, we do got the 3-man chasing Kenny. Kenny, again, no escape mechanisms at this point. He is sitting with, you know, that flask probably empty at this point. I would say, oh, okay, he still has 1 charge on it. But either way, it's not looking good for him, because we got Ziploc coming by. The good news is that Ziploc is out of mana. So he has 46 mana. It looks like he can actually still cast a Wither. So I'm not too sure if that will actually work out. Lissandra come in. She does not have that Entomb. She just used the Claw, so 2 of the 4 abilities already down. Doom Trouble still has that kick, so if he can land that perfect kick, maybe he won't die, but I'm kind of counting him out at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard. If we do see an escape, then it's going to be a fairly nice escape. It's going to be a fun one to see, and the Ignite is also up for iDream. Unfortunately, he doesn't have his Shadow up, so the chasing power isn't quite there, and there goes the resume fight.
And there's that Wither, so he did get that one Wither off. Zamfira with the flash forward, able to pick that one up. Here comes Ryze, and Kenny just turns right back around. That Ignite is going to be enough to take Nasus down with him. So they actually end up trading 2 for 1. Bottom lane, however, look at the problems being generated here. Laud and Xanos going toe-to-toe up against Nothing here, but Nothing here has that final hour up. Flash across. It's going to be enough for Nothing here because, you know, burns out the flash. No problem. Gets the kill. Laud got to be feeling a little ticked about that one. But once you get close range up against that Vayne, I'm going to take her over Caitlyn every day.
Yeah, that's very true. And even in sort of a long, drawn-out engagement, just a complete initiation, Vayne is probably going to win that. She's got more damage overall. Vayne's shortcomings, even though she is known as not really high-power early game, if she gets the good initiation off, then she has a lot of great 1v1 power early game, and it's not to be underestimated, whereas the reason she is sort of that, you know, not a really good early game AD carry, as we know, is because she gets outranged, is because she gets outpoked so easily. And, you know, when LOD tries to go in for a full-on engagement like that, Nothing here then gets the advantage. So he should have, you know, just tried to poke out a little bit more before actually going in for the kill.
So that puts us at a score of 6-2. Right now, WAZABI, again, undefeated coming into this series. Early game, they're up a little bit here in terms of gold. They do got the 4 kills, but they are down in terms of towers. That bottom lane pushing power. I'm a little surprised they haven't started rotating this bottom lane. We've been seeing that a lot more, especially you know, after how widespread Korean influence has gotten. As soon as you push down a lane, you just rotate, you keep pushing towers, because that's essentially the game when you break it down. I mean, but there's just continuing to farm away in the bot.
Yeah, and that rotating strategy would also have prevented both Xanos and LOD from getting that far extended to a point where they had no escape if they gotten into a fight. So that's something that really would have played to their advantage. But a gank in the top lane, as it looks like they're not going to tower dive it, but Nasus is here for the bot lane.
Yeah, I was looking at the bot when you brought that one up. That's going to be the Monsoon. Just kind of nullifies that Aqua Prison tidal wave with its massive range and the Condemn into the wall. Laud not looking so good. Has no flash. Did burn it out last game. Ziploc throws up the ultimate. He's tanking the tower. That's going to be the flash and the tornado from Xanos. He's going to get out of that one okay, as Ziploc, again, just kind of keeps himself alive with that ultimate, the extra hit points, and now this bot lane is just going to be pushing right in. They got no ADC defender. Top lane, it looks like Kenny and Doom Trouble going to go with Mark II on top of iDream. He's trying to juke it out. The rappel goes up. iDream cannot get onto the hop of the spider, and that's going to be the kick, but he's not quite done yet. Will he explode? Hardly any damage done between that living, that death mark. So they're going to get out of that one, and bottom tower will fall.
And there goes the bottom tower. So we're seeing sort of those trades again, you know, in return for the blue team, the purple team, aha,
One
or
of the teams.
the red team in this case. Let's just call them WAZABI Gaming at this point.
Yep.
In return for them taking the bottom tower, they had a dive in the top tower. Complexity Academy, they dove the top tower, eliminated the defender, and took their own tower. So even though they lost that fight in the bottom lane, they still evened out the tower difference. They still evened out the gold difference. And speaking of even, 18.9 to 19.0, that's a really close gold difference. And really, if there was any sort of advantage that either team had, it would be Complexity Academy with their one tower advantage. Map control is something you never want to underestimate.
Well, they got that extra tower, they're down 4 kills, they got a dragon. So those are kind of the big differences here between the teams. The other big difference is if you look at some of this farming, it's with the exception of Vayne, you know, top lane getting out farmed in terms of WAZABI Gaming. Mid lane, that was Zamfira, 131 creeps, leading the pack with a really nice lead at that as well. I mean, these creeps are also coming into factor for some of the gold differences. Poor Vayne though, still not even triple digits here, 14 minutes in. But here we go, we finally got Laud in the mid with Xanos, and that's going to be a 4-man push, landing some decent tower damage as well. But Ziploc is just waiting around. We also got Zed coming down. Could be a full-out team fight. I'm not too sure who's going to initialize first, but we also got the Dragon now back up as well.
Complexity Academy, you know, they have the advantage in terms of numbers for this mid lane push. However, Vayne is in the bottom lane pushing, and there goes the engagement.
Yeah, Zamfira going to caught out by the cocoon, doesn't have the flash. Last second Entomb, the invulnerability going off. Kenny Yu goes up with that repel, keeps him alive. Ends up being a 1-for-0. Vayne now noticing that, hey, there's a party mid, and she's late to it. She actually might get cut off here. Yeah, thank goodness. She's going to go the other way. Throws out the ward. ZZ Legendary on top of that. And now this is just going to be, again, just party in the USA here mid.
Yeah, Vayne isn't really too well known for her escape mechanics, but wow, those cocoons really catching out person after person for Complexity Academy. You know, Kenny Yu doing a very good job right there, and that was really what killed Zamfira before, that cocoon catching her out. And when you're stunned, you know, she couldn't use Entomb, so it ended up, you know, she was at what, 20 health?
Yep,
Ignite was ticking down, then Entomb went out, just barely not enough to save her, but if that stun didn't go off, she would have been able to use that ability earlier and prevent more of that damage. So a very good play right there by Kenny Yu, and he's been landing a lot of these cocoons.
Yeah, a lot of cocoons, a lot of skill shots coming off from Lee Sin as well, though never really big opportunities to follow up on him. There goes a stray tornado. But Ryze has now come back up from the bottom lane. We also got Lissandra now respawn. Has a needlessly large rod on top of things, so if I had to warrant a guess, it's going to be a death cap in fairly short order. But we've also been having a few ward wars down here by the dragon. We also got that pink up, so it should be able to see this other ward, but maybe they're just going to ignore it. Captain Ziploc, however, is going to start it up. A little bit of pressure coming mid, and a really good opportunity here because we got Ryze way back here and Elise back in town as well.
Yeah, they're going to take an uncontested dragon. Let's see if Complexity Academy can make anything happen directly after that was taken. Looks like they're going to try to go for the mid tower. Laud almost getting caught out, but Annette is going to be able to save her life right there, and actually popping the flash from Zamfira. And Lissandra not having that flash is actually a pretty big deal. She can't flash initiate by entombing someone like LOD or Kenny Yu, one of the big damage dealers, so that's going to be something that hurts them in the long run. And it looks like there goes the tower, here comes the team fight.
Looks like you're also a little bit ahead of me, but Doom Trobo comes in from behind that without that tower. Great tidal wave from Prophet, just kind of delaying everything. There's the Entomb from Zamfira, just kind of keeping everyone there. We had the Monsoon doing the heals. Zamfira is going to drop just before Janna goes down as well. Doom Trobo now running forward. Kenny Yu is here. We got the ace in the hole coming out. Prophet expertly just kind of deflects that. We got Vayne, however, in the back with the final hour, forcing out flashes from the rest of this team on top of Complexity Academy, and it looks like they're going to be running for the hills. And when everything is done, 3 for 2. Complexity, they got the tower, they lost the dragon, but they didn't win the team fight.
They certainly didn't, and the little weird bug after a pause, I was a little bit ahead of you.
Yep, I jumped alive. I didn't notice. All good.
Wondering why that hasn't really been fixed yet. But going back to this game here, Lissandra, 2-2 and 5, as you said, going straight for a death cap, and that's a good item on Lissandra because she doesn't really need the big, you know, tankiness item. She doesn't have to be this. She doesn't have to build survivability as much as a lot of other AP mids because she has some really good escape mechanic as well as Entomb. And after that death cap, she's going to go right for the Zhonya's Hourglass, I can imagine, so that she can use Entomb aggressively and still make sure that she has her own safeguard with Zhonya's, or even double Zhonya's. In situations like where there's that last tick of Ignite going down, you might want to pop another Zhonya's right afterwards as well, right after the Entomb goes off, but it's just a great sort of build for Lissandra, and we see it all the time.
Yeah, Zhonya's coupled with that, it turns into 5 seconds of invulnerability, which is pretty nuts in some of these team fights. 5 seconds is a live or die number, especially come to late game when a lot of people are starting to get farmed up. In terms of farmed up, though, I'm looking at nothing here, and he had a pretty rough laning phase. We're still not quite out of that yet, still under the 20-minute mark, but he's up 3-0-1 compared to the 1-3-2 of Caitlyn, and he has himself completed now the Blade of the Ruined King. So, whoa, that was a Zed, and Zed finding out Xanos there, that was a little bit of damage on top of Xanos. Not exactly what he wanted, because he did find a Doom Trobo there as well, so that's going to be a cooldown and a half with that death mark down, 86 seconds.
But yeah, it's quite a bit of time, so they're not really going to want to fight until that comes back up. It's such a strong ability, especially when you want to dive into the back line and make sure LOD gets killed. With the Bloodthirster now doing quite a bit of damage, but I think one of the biggest things that Complexity Academy is neglecting actually a little bit against WAZABI is, well, as you said, nothing here. He's getting back into this game in terms of farm as well as kills. He's been unchecked ever since laning phase. They just sort of left him to his own devices. He was able to farm back into the game, and during that last team fight, he came up from the behind and was able to clean up, essentially, which gave her more kills. Now she's 3-0-1 and ahead of Caitlyn in that respect, but she might actually get caught out right here.
Yeah, did we actually have an ace ready to go? Wow, she's going to be in that trap. Is there going to be an ace coming up? No, we don't have the mana from Laud, so he can't finish her off. A little bit of a lucky streak coming out from nothing here, but he did get chunked down extremely hard. We also got Elise just up here to the side. He's playing around with Nasus. That's going to be the Wither on top of things, but Elise, he's looking for blood, looking around to see if he can catch that Vayne, but will not happen this round. I Dream top lane, 4 seconds left on that death mark, so if he does want to make something happen on top of Kenny, will have that creep wave at his back soon enough. Other than that, it looks like big pressure starting here in the mids, and Fearo's going to get caught out, but it looks like he's going to be okay just under that tower. Ziplock's going to take a little bit of harass, a little under half hit points after all that, but that's also the Ryze overwhelming power down.
It is, and Vayne is
unstable power. No, desperate power, sorry.
Desperate power, yeah. So Vayne is actually going to go ahead and come back right back into this fight with a Blade of the Ruined King, helping her kite a little bit, as well as put out more damage and get a little bit more lifesteal. But one thing I'd actually like to see from both of these teams even in this game, more pink wards. Look at the map coverage right now. Look at the amount of wards out on the map, and imagine a couple of well-placed pink wards can really deny so much sight in this game right now. There's only one pink ward out on the map and one more in Nami's inventory, but that's it. No oracles either. It's a game where you really want to be trying to deny sight, because someone like Lissandra can catch you out so easily. Someone like Zed can catch you out so easily. And if they deny Complexity Academy the sight, then Zed can, roam free in the jungle, come up behind someone and instantly nuke down Legendary or LOD, and that would really put the team fight into their favor. So both of these teams, I would like to see more pink wards.
We do have one, and it's right here, and it's for WAZABI. And yeah, there we go. Nami's actually going to pick up one ward from it. But yeah, overall, don't have a lot of pinks, but nice Christmas colorings on our minimap. Nice reds and blues being thrown around all the places. No team fight here mid. We will have a dragon coming up in fairly short order. Should be, I would estimate, less than 3 minutes at this point. So if we can make something happen mid, make something happen bottom, we'll be in good position to pick up that dragon. As you can see, Nami throwing down another pink here. That was the last of her pinks as well. We got one there on Nasus, so we're going to have to see where he wants to throw that. But, when it does come to the dragon, we are tied out 1-1. Ooh, that's going to be a final hour coming out from nothing here. He might actually try to chase down Laud here.
Yeah, good. Going to dodge right around the trap. Oh, the flash of Xanos in the mid lane getting caught out by Zamfira, and now there's a 2v1 and another pause. And again, right in the middle of a team fight. This is a really odd timing.
One thing that you gotta learn with Vayne is you can't run away from a Vayne. I don't care who you are, you can't run away from a Vayne. She gets that passive kick in, she already has that zeal, the berserker boots on top of things. She's now sitting at 4-0-1, still falling a little bit in terms of the farm to this Caitlyn, but if you take a look at her gold, she's actually staying pretty much on par. 200 gold difference, even though she's up 4 kills to the 4 deaths of Caitlyn. But Caitlyn, even with that, that flash at the end, which... arguable. She used it and instantly died. Those are also situations that you really wish you had barrier, but she did take cleanse, and you can't really fault her because there's the Nasus on the team.
Right, and even against Vayne, if she condemns you into a wall, cleanse can still be a very strong summoner spell, but he didn't have to worry about that hit there. And even if Vayne doesn't land a stun onto the wall, it's still so much 1v1 power, especially when Final Hour is popped, so much extra damage, as well as the third proc on her Silver Bolts, doing true damage and percentage damage both at the same time. It's just so hard to 1v1 a Vayne, and you know, LOD got caught out a little bit there, even without a condemn.
And that's when you really earn your name of hyper carry in those regards. Again, if you get into the range of a Vayne, I'll take a Vayne over a Caitlyn pretty much every day, because with that Final Hour, you get the stealth, you get the movement speed, you get the tumbles, and you know arguably you can actually just outplay your opponent. But here we're going to come back into here. Zemfira going to get caught up by Xanos. That's going to be Legendary, throwing out some damage as well, but it looks like they're just going to disengage. They thought about it long and hard during that pause and said, no, not worth it. 11-6. Sitting here nice and pretty for WAZABI, as that dragon came up. Pretty good timing, at least in my opinion. And second dragon going their way. Their gold lead $2,000, grand and a half. Still a fairly close game.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to point out about iDream, in the top lane as Zed, he basically, normally you see a Blade of the Ruined King built first on Zed. That's just sort of his core item. But he's building towards the matchup in this case, getting a Hexdrinker first, because he is up against Elise, who does magic damage, and that shield is also going to help him prevent the execute from Kenny Yu in the top lane. So he's not going to be able to die as much. And even though Kenny Yu has five kills and 2 deaths to Zed's 3, he still is able to keep up and even, you know, excel in farm. 176 to 134, that's a 40 farm difference. And I think the gold is actually in favor of iDream right there. So great build choice by him. And the Hexdrinker, you know, it's not going to turn into a bad item anyway. Maul Malmortius just got buffed as well. They increased what they basically did is, instead of having it give you a ton of damage when you're low on health, it gives you more damage straight up, and the damage sort of scales faster. So instead of having to be at really low health before you get that damage, you can get the damage when you're at about half health. But here we go, they're going for a gank onto Kenny Yu.
Yeah, Kenny Yu, we've seen this combo before. Ziploc and iDream coming out. That repel is just so dicey sometimes. Nothing to hit, no creep waves, and that's going to be a shutdown coming out. Ziploc going to be taking home that kill. Now they could push down this turret. It's going to take a while to go if they are going to do it themselves. This creep wave is a little far off. Looks like they are going to split, but it will be iDream just holding down the creep wave, and when his comes in, it should be the death of that tower. Doesn't look like we're going to have any kind of defense coming up from Complexity Academy. Once again, nothing here. Going to go on to Lod. That's going to be the red buff. Does not matter. Look at the mobility. Look at the damage, and nothing here is now 5-0-1. Definitely doing some great work here for WAZABI.
I think Lod felt a little bit safe as Xanos was coming right down to try to help him out, turning it into a 2v1, but Vayne, so much damage from nothing here. Blade of the Ruined King as well, he was able to end up killing LOD before anything were to happen with Xanos coming down and saving him. So that's a great play by them, and they're going to be able to take mid tower off of that, and they're pushing down bot tower as well. So Lod, I really want to see him be a little bit more careful around Nothing Here, because Nothing Here, 5-0-1, 168 farm, he's doing really well. And Blade of the Ruined King, Phantom Dancer, that's attack speed, and that's something that Vayne scales well off of. That's how she scales. So she's going to be able to get Silver Bolts off very, very quickly, as well as the movement speed from Phantom Dancer. As you said, such high mobility, helping her out there as well. A little bit of laughing in the mid lane, actually.
I noticed that. She's like, oh, and he misses. Oh, it's great. Zamfira, man. Zamfira playing it real nice. So we surmised that it would have been a death cap first. Looks like that whole Zonia's talk really got to think. It's like, yep, I'm just going to go Zonia's instead. So went Zonia, took the blasting wand, made it into the Abyssal. Really top-notch choices all around, because not only does that give her the attack, the ability power, but also gives you that magic resist. Similar idea to what we saw on iDream. He said, you know, typically you'll see him not go for this Mortius, as he will eventually upgrade that. But with so much AP on top of Complexity Academy, you really can't go wrong for it. I mean, you got Elise AP, you got Ryze AP, you got Janna sort of AP, you know, it's just really low, but still all that triple threat really does make sense to kind of make those hybrid damage / magic resist items.
Wait, yeah, when you have a double AP in terms of your solo laners, those are the champions who are probably going to end up doing the most damage as well, especially if you have a tank jungler like Lee Sin is acting for their team. So Kenny Yu is building for damage, haunting guys, as well as Zhonya's and Ryze. He's got quite a bit of damage, but still a lot of tankiness to his name. So that's going to be a little bit harder for iDream to basically burst them down. But it looks like they're going for an engagement.
That was quite the combo. Doom Trouble comes in with that resonating strike, puts down the ward, safeguards to it, and kicks her right in. Somehow, though, Zamfira stayed alive so long in that team fight. That's going to be Ignite on top of Ziploc. Looks like Ziploc's going to be okay for now. Lod, however, is going to drop. Nothing here. Picks that one up. Looking for the kill on top of Xanos. That's going to be the one disengage. It's not going to be enough. Xanos should go down. ZZ Legendary somehow staying alive. Sliver of health, but the last Q from Nami, sorry, last W from Nami, able to pick her up. And Doom Trouble, the guy that started it all off, somehow lived that entire engage. And Captain Ziploc as well. Less than 100 hit points at one point with those Ignites ticking down, but you cannot disaccount the fury of the sands and the power that it brings to those team fights. 4-for-1 exchange with WAZABI up 10 kills and 6,000 gold.
That was a really, really good team fight for WAZABI in general. You know, every person involved in that team fight did their fair share. Nothing here was able to put out so much damage after everyone had already disengaged. You know, everyone on Complexity Academy, they used their summoner spells, they used their flashes, they used their ignites, they used everything, they used their ultimates as well. And at the point where Nothing here finally came into the fight, there was nothing that could stop him, and he just picked up kill after kill. And on top of that, Zamfira and Prophet doing a very good synergy job right there. They tried to kill Zamfira, as you said, taken down extremely low, but she survived, and that was mainly because she was able to not only use Entomb on herself, but Zhonya's on top of that. She survived for 5 seconds while Prophet landed a great tidal wave, turning the fight completely around. Amazing play by WAZABI right there, and I just barely remembered to switch it back to live after that pause.
Jerk. All right, we're back to live, guys. A little bit of poke coming down into the mid. 17-7. Does look like Complexity Academy. They're still raring to go. They're not afraid of this WAZABI team at all. They're going to be putting up some pressure here mid, but top lane looks like it's slightly pushing into the favor of WAZABI. Bottom lane, however, I think is going to be going more towards Complexity Academy. We'll keep an eye there. So we'll see how long they want to dedicate to some of these fights here in the mid. But, you know, 5 seconds, that game-changing number, right? That's so much invulnerability that they just had to keep focusing her so long after the fight, and you know, she ate up all that damage. She did die, I'll give her that, but really good team fight coming out with WAZABI as a result. So hey, if she can do that every time, Zamfira MVP, no problem.
Yeah, and when Nothing here doesn't come in until the very end of the fight, it sort of says to Complexity Academy, well, who are you going to focus? But here comes another team fight as Captain Ziploc gets caught out.
As Captain Ziploc maybe on the side, but iDream here in the mid. He gets the kill on top of Legendary. Xanos now goes in. Unfortunately, does not live too long at all. Doom Trouble is going to drop as well. That could be the triple. Lod does not go down, but that's going to be the turret on top of things. So a 3-for-0. I didn't see what happened to Ziploc as I was focused on Dream, but he looks fairly healthy, so it couldn't have been too bad. But after the 3-for-0 and Lod on the last legs, I mean, that's an inhibitor. I don't think the game, but possibly another tower. What, maybe the top or bottom? Maybe top.
Maybe. It looks like they're going for the top tower. I think they have enough to tank it. You know, Captain Ziploc yielding quite a bit of tankiness. Got a bulwark as well as the Spirit of the Ancient Golem. So
creeps aren't there. It's not happening.
I don't think he would have much trouble tanking it, but you know, taking the enemy's buffs is just as strong right there, so they're going to be able to give that off to Zamfira, so that's also keeping it out of the hands of Legendary. So Ryze is the machine gun caster. He wants the CDR, he wants the mana regen from blue buff, and he's not going to be able to get that now, so that's a good pickup by WAZABI.
You said machine gun, and I had a thought here. Nothing here has double Phantom.
Oh, wow.
2.04 attack speed. 160 attack damage, no problem, but that machine gun true damage coming out. Dear me. Nothing here. The undefeated champion of Vayne so far, 9-0-3, 202 creeps, double Phantoms. Haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, I've never seen a fully automatic crossbow before. It's really going to help her out quite a bit, and we see that it's doing so much damage in these team fights. You know, during that last team fight, it was a 5v5 fight, you know. not too many things were popped. Zamfira didn't have to pop Zhonya's in that fight. No one ended up dying for WAZABI, and that was just because nothing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Really, really fast shots, able to take someone down extremely quickly, and he just moved on to the next target and the next target, almost getting that triple, but Laud just barely escaping at the last second. But it's going to be so hard for Complexity Academy to get back into this game after a 10k gold deficit. They're down 2 towers, and it looks like WAZABI might be setting up for a Baron as well. They might be baiting it. Looks like they're baiting it.
My thoughts are more on a Baron bait. We do got the Oracles there. We got a lot of wards. We have no vision whatsoever coming out from Complexity Academy. Doom Trobo, he's like, oh, okay, there's a Baron. Sure, I'll just go take this. But unfortunately, the rest of the team is just around the corner. Xanos finds that out the hard way. Nice Monsoon and Flash combo, but that's going to be a tidal wave coming in as well as Captain Ziploc is in there. Zamfira jumps into the mix as well. And wow, a minion kills a blue turret. Awesome. Kenny Yu drops. That's going to be a flash there from Doom Trobo. Captain Ziploc and nothing here going to be in pursuit. That's the flash from Zamfira. Gets the kill, and Legendary gets condemned into the wall for the triple. Lissandra, double Vayne, cleanup crew. Could this be game, Nazaraki?
I think it's gonna be game. It's a 5 for Oace. Zed's pushing down the bottom tower.
That was 5 on 4.
Spawn time. Well, oh my god, yeah, Idream was bot the entire time. And I think it was really the decision to start attacking Baron, try to start going for Baron, because they saw WAZABI. They were retreating from Baron. They couldn't have gone far. I mean, what do you think they're going to recall at that point? But, you know, they started tanking the Baron. Their focus was all over the place. Xanos got caught out, and that was really what spelled the end of the game for Complexity Academy. Xanos gets killed right outside of the fountain, right before the Nexus blows up, and that's going to be a GG. WAZABI Gaming continuing their undefeated streak.
Those manor wards at the end. 3 for 0 WAZABI between the 3 games that they have played. Good game, well played to them. 26, my goodness, that was both games. Game number 1, game number 2, very big parallels to these. So we're going to have to see what game number 3 brings us here in the Mobafire Challenger Series. Worker Jester and Azaraki Dragon. Somebody said they like the giggles. Yeah, I get a little giggly when good plays go down. But that's it for Complexity Academy and WAZABI. That means that coming up next, game number 3 is going to be FX Open up against Gold Gaming Los Angeles, the basketball logo, as I like to call it. But here's some of the stats from the last game, guys. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, get game number 3 ready to go. Don't go anywhere. The Mobafire Challenger Series will continue after a break from our sponsor.